So it's the same reason I don't go to the dentist when my teeth hurt.
Yeah.
Huh.
When I type in frozen rib, I just get frozen like ribs. like food. Is there another term for this, Larry?
Well, don't you have a fucking grill, you goddamn heathen?
Give me a second.
Okay.
So you guys know that I don't get the majority of my entertainment from traditional sources like Netflix and Hulu.
It's also called slipping rib syndrome.
Oh, okay.
I don't just watch Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus or whatever. I occasionally, majority of my entertainment comes from YouTube because I'm a degenerate. So I occasionally run across very interesting characters on the internet, and most of them are way more successful than we can ever hope to be.
Well, that's not true. I mean, you have a wife and children. That's way more successful.
I'm talking
than
about
these
on YouTube. I'm not talking about in life, just on YouTube.
Like, I mean, that person's not on YouTube though, because he's making money off of websites that are ran by the Chinese government.
So anyway, I think I've briefly talked to you guys about the Painkiller Already PKA podcast. They've been running for damn near a decade, if not more than.
I'm familiar with them.
Okay. Larry, are you?
I'm familiar with you telling me that they are a thing that exists.
Okay. Well, one of their members is a guy named FPS Russia, which we've also talked about. He's the guy that used to make gun videos. And he has some fucking hilarious stories about when he was charged by the federal government for some weed that he forgot was in his pocket when he went to get his mail, because they were trying to catch him on federal gun crimes and he hadn't done anything illegal. So they were like,
what was it, like 2 years?
No, he did 2 months. He did 2 months.
2 months. That okay.
Yeah, he took
it must have been like the court process was 2 years.
He was looking at 2 years, but then they came up with the sweetheart plea deal that he was like, yes, I'm taking that and pleading guilty to whatever I have to only do 2 months. Yes.
And I mean, just think, an FBI agent could tell people to smoke weed to try to kidnap a governor.
Right. Well, that's kind of where I'm going with this, because they had a guest on once, known as the RuneScape Felon. Are any of you familiar with that guy?
No. But I do know what RuneScape is.
Okay.
And I know what a felon is.
Well, the RuneScape Felon was a guy by the name of Josh Palault. If you're ever down for some interesting storytelling, I would suggest looking up any of the interviews he's done about his stint in prison and his story, because it's fucking fascinating. So Josh Palault was just this 19-year-old kid who was on a bad track that was making some edgy jokes on RuneScape about school shootings. And the FBI raided his fucking house, and he got basically 6 years in jail because the judge had a hard-on for him, even though he had no guns. He had, obviously he had a couple of he was guilty of a couple of drug crimes or whatever and underage drinking, but he wasn't guilty of what they were charging him with. So he's doing 6 fucking years in real prison, not some kind of camp like FPS Russia was in. And he got out and got his life together. He's doing great now, and he's fucking hilarious. But I was digging around his YouTube channel and found that he has a song out there that actually ties in with what our first topic should be, I think, tonight, because it seems that the ThotWars have begun, gentlemen. So without further ado, I will present to you Josh Palault. It's hard out here for a simp.
You know it's hard out here for a simp when you're trying to pay this random bitch's rent. When you keep sending gift subs and bits but the e-thought ain't showing you the tits. You know it's hard out here for a simp when you gifted all your money for the rent. When you sliding in the whispers for the tits, but the bitch don't wanna break you off some pigs. In my eyes, I done seen some crazy things in the street. Hype train hitting level 5, and it's all cause of me. But I gotta keep my game tight like Charlie on chestnut, like something to a girl, don't know no better. I know that ain't right. Done seen people ban, seen bank accounts slam. But since the streamer ain't my girlfriend, I'm getting scammed. I donate just to see her neck, think I got no respect. But I'm a virgin and I'm 23, the fuck did you expect? It's cum, sweat, and tears when it comes down to the chat. I've been creeping for so long, I paid $2K to see her back. I'm trying to have things, but she never noticed me. I spent $100,000, only got VIP. You know it's hard out here for a simp when you trying to pay this random bitch's rent. When you keep sending gifts, subs, and bits, but the e-thought ain't showing you the tits. You know it's hard out here for a simp when you gifted all your money for the rent. When you sliding in the whispers for the tits, but the bitch don't wanna break you off some pigs. Man, it seems like I'm dropping 30 subs every day. Incels coming to a chat, you know I'm standing in the way. But I gotta keep her paid, gotta make sure she sees. Cause if she picks a boyfriend from the chat, it's me. She can play World of Warcraft, play League of Legends. No matter what she's playing, no, I'm there 24/7. These girls take me through things, bank accounts flat. If I had a band hammer, I'd be the only dude in chat. Now I got top hits badge in the top gifts too. And I'm waiting for the day she tells me I choose you. She wouldn't take my money if I didn't stand a chance. And now I'm hanging in a Twitch chat with both hands inside my pants. You know it's hard out here for a simp when you trying to pay this random bitch's rent. When you keep sending gifts, subs, and bits, but the e-thought ain't showing you the tits. You know it's hard out here for a simp when you gifted all your money for the rent. When you sliding in the whispers for the tits, but the bitch don't wanna break you off some pigs. Simp life.
That was incredible.
So that I think that's a great way to intro our first topic, where we're going to be talking about OnlyFans being sued for what I can only describe as colluding with Meta. Is that how you would?
No.
describe it?
You need to describe it more appropriately. They're colluding with the federal government, who uses Meta as their agent.
Okay, fair enough. So, was it you that brought this up, or was it me?
I think we both brought it up adjacent to each other.
Okay. So, I saw this, and the first thing I thought was there's no fucking way, right? But the more I looked into it and the more I saw it, it seems like a bunch of people are going to start covering this in the next week when some more information starts to come out.
Wait, you didn't know that Meta, Amazon, Twitter, YouTube have basically formed a cabal that works with the federal government as part of the Patriot Act to unperson people online?
No, Larry, that's just a conspiracy theory. You sound like Alex Jones, Larry.
No. They've admitted to this. They've admitted to this in congressional hearings.
Yes, that was just a deep fake, Larry. That's just what the people that like Alex Jones want you to think, man.
You mean the people on C-SPAN who are broadcasting live?
Yeah. I would do one of my Alex Jones quotes,
we
but
understand.
There's no way my throat can handle that right now.
So,
Turn to the freaking frogs gay.
Dexter 2, Dextero, what I don't know. This random account that I stumbled across because of a retweet. According to a series of lawsuits, OnlyFans allegedly bribed Meta employees to put thousands of competitor site porn stars on terrorist watch list. According to the lawsuits, adult performers who sold content on rival sites reported that their Instagram accounts were falsely tagged as containing terrorist content, negatively affecting their ability to promote their content. The lawyers in the case are claiming to have acquired a list exceeding 21,000 Instagram accounts that were unfairly flagged as potential terrorist accounts, as per unreported California Superior Court filings.
I mean, that's not a lot, really.
Let's be honest. I didn't think there were 21,000 porn stars in the world.
Bro, you've missed out on what's been going on in Insta recently.
Ayrton with the banner on point.
You're welcome.
But no, I mean, it's just that seems like an exceedingly high amount of young women who are basically selling their body for money on these websites. It doesn't seem healthy.
It could be number of accounts. Like one chick could have multiple accounts.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
No,
No,
it's not necessarily
no,
many individual women.
No, it is that many individual women. Haven't you been to Instagram lately?
Well, he has.
No,
I don't do
haven't
Instagram.
I haven't used Instagram in, I don't know, like 2 months.
Like the more I go onto Instagram, the more hoes are on there who were sliding into my DMs saying, "Hey, for $99.99 a month, you can get my unlimited cam feed."
How's it going, Miss Rena? We're just talking about hoes and terrorists right now. Figure that'll get us into the show proper. But I know this has nothing to do with comic books and comic. Well, actually, tangentially it does, because occasionally on TikTok some of these hoes are dressed up as superheroes. So that's the thing. That's the tie-in. That's the closest you're gonna get. But
Well, no, and because hoes mad, and the Hulk gets mad and smashes things, and hoes like to smash. We can make multiple connections with this.
Well, I did have a discussion earlier today with a gentleman who didn't believe that equality meant equal rights and equal lefts.
Should we go shadowbacks outside of a battered woman's home, Church?
No, I'm not talking about that.
Oh.
They were discussing the OnlyFans model who killed her boyfriend a few weeks or months ago or whenever it was. And how's it going, Chad? Good to see you, buddy.
And they recently actually put video of her beating him up in an elevator.
Yes, before the event. And my whole thing was on that, like, somebody in that thread was like, "You never hit a woman no matter what." And people are like, "Bruh, she literally killed him later." And I'm like, this is a pretty teachable moment. It doesn't matter if she can't hurt you. Defend yourself all the time with equitable force.
Yeah, there's some instances where it is okay to hit a woman.
I mean, especially when the fucking knife comes out, I think.
Right.
So the thought wars have begun, and I don't think there will be an end in sight until OnlyFans is the last one standing, because it seems to be in bed with all of these companies that have admitted in congressional Congress or in congressional hearing that they work for the federal government. But that's I don't know. What do you guys have any thoughts? Any how do you think that lawsuit's going to go? Do you think that these porn stars have any ground to stand on, or do you think they're just going to be like swatted by the new 87,000 IRS agents for not paying their taxes?
Well, I mean, the thought audit happens next, but I mean, they have grounds to sue.
But do you think they'll actually win? Do you think they have a chance in hell?
I mean, Facebook will pay, because if Facebook doesn't pay, then they're entitled to have information about the government cabal that they're a part of that allows them to label people terrorists for no reason.
I just want to know who's going to be the Archduke Ferdinand of the ThotWars 1. No, that one didn't. That joke didn't hit.
I'm not sure. I
mean,
have no idea what reference you're talking about.
Did it hit like the knife in that guy's chest? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, just about.
Okay. Huh. I'll have to explore what this slides thing is. Apparently, there's a new thing. There's also an extra camera option. I wonder if the Kino Casino knew about that before they did their highly organized and professional show last night.
Oh, jeez.
So there is another thought that came up this week that we should discuss. In discussion, for some reason, this week has been Poison Ivy and how it's okay for Poison Ivy to be an evil villain because she represents the environment.
No, that's not why it's okay.
No, hold on, let me finish. Okay. And when people bring up the fact that Swamp Thing is literally the embodiment of the green, and he never kind of tried to kill Batman because he understands that Batman is trying to tame his concrete jungle and not burning down trees. It came out that but Swamp Thing's not a queer woman. To which I responded, what the fuck does gender and sexual orientation have shit to do with how much respect somebody deserves?
Oh, you don't understand, Church.
I know, I'm a sweet summer child.
So you see, gay people, because they don't fit inside the lines of the coloring book, have chosen to identify with monsters. And monstrous behavior with monsters.
Okay.
And monstrous behavior has been made symbolic of gay behavior. So it's okay for her to kill people because she's a lesbian.
Is that why it's okay for her to be just as abusive to Harley Quinn as the Joker was in certain situations?
I mean, haven't you seen the FBI statistics on lesbians and spousal abuse?
No, but I've seen Amber Heard statistics on lesbians and spousal abuse.
I mean, Amber Heard is a fine benchmark of that statistics.
So the thread that I came across,
their spouses at similar rates to police officers.
The thread that I came across, because my co-hosts are so lovely and actually prepare content for the show every week while I piss, moan, bitch, and whine about things. Mm-hmm. Is DC Civvy, aka Rose on Twitter. Poison Ivy's likability makes incels extra mad. Incels extra mad, Ayrton. Make note. Because she stands for everything they hate. She's a very confident woman in a healthy relationship with another woman. A healthy relationship where she throws shit at her, says she doesn't mean anything, says she's just a tool, doesn't love her. She never takes a man's bullshit. A feminist, an environmentalist, scientist, an anti-capitalist. Well, first off, she's not an anti-capitalist. She robs banks like a motherfucker. She really likes money.
Well, I mean, she needs money to destroy humanity.
All that set aside, she is also very compassionate. She shows that by killing anybody that steps on a twig. She stands with defenselessness in many stories. Defenselessness of plants. Comic fans hate to accept that side of her, even though it is visible throughout her evolution in comics. Whenever we bring it up, they go all comic skater on us. No, we're not finishing books to be mad at your shit take on comics. We're not going all comic skater on you. We're expressing legitimate criticism of people who have read these things. And to be fair, part of this statement is true. In some writing, she has been shown to be compassionate. In some writing, she has been shown to have very evolutionary character development.
I mean, she hasn't been shown to be compassionate because she's a psychopath. She's been emulating compassion.
Well, again, it depends on who's writing her, and it depends on the storyline. So I'm not.
She's always a psychopath.
That's not necessarily true. She's shown as very rational in some, and a lot of the animated stuff she's been shown as rational.
Psychopaths are rational. They just don't believe that other beings have a right to live. Doesn't believe other people's suffering is relevant to them.
Right, but she comes around by the end of the episode usually. Anyway. Why? Accepting that Poison Ivy is a complicated character with bad and good qualities does not equate to calling her a hero, and erasing all the bad she has done. But if you bring it up, you are bad. If you relate to her, you are bad. I wonder where that comes from. I don't know. Maybe people are just afraid of psychopaths, Rose. If you identify with Poison Ivy, maybe you should see a therapist. Very obviously, I'm not discussing whether Ivy's a full-blown hero or villain here. I'm talking about why she, as a character, is likable and relatable. Well, that doesn't mean she is to everyone, sweetheart.
I mean, come on now, Church. Don't you ever just think, man, I'd like to kill literally every human being on the planet and replace them with boss?
Yes.
At least once a week.
More like 4 times a week, but yes. Yes, I just always come to the conclusion that there are not enough bullets, Larry.
Right, that's why you use a neurotoxin.
We'll talk about that after the show.
And to the FBI who just started listening to this show, that was a joke.
Very obviously, I'm not discussing whether Ivy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's likable and relatable. Her doing terrible stuff is not relevant. So
we have a meth wolf on the show now.
What?
Very professional meth wolf.
Do you have meth? No, I was taking care of my mother, so I could then enjoy my meth in peace.
Meth and peace don't go together, Rune.
I need to just sort of kick back and enjoy my 6 meth.
Very professional, Rune. Glad you could make it.
So what is CG's fault?
Fashionably late and on meth.
What did CG do?
Oh, nothing. We're talking about.
I'm being sarcastic with the banners.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, comic skaters were blamed for all comic critique at this point because obviously, if you don't agree with some psycho on Twitter's take, then you're a comic skater.
Much like Gamergate is responsible for Donald Trump being president.
Right. Well, it is. If we could just get Trump to tweet out Gamergate, we would win, boys.
Maybe we can get him to tweet out or Truth Social out Comicsgate.
That's right. That's right. Well, then Ethan will have no choice but to finish his books. Anyway. I'm not talking about why she is a character is likable and I'm talking about why she is a character is likable and relatable. Her doing terrible stuff is not relevant. But a lot of you, not surprisingly, lack basic comprehension skills. Much like the person writing this thread lacks basic grammar skills.
You mean her being abusive to Harley makes her likable? Her killing people makes them likable?
Right.
Her wanting to exterminate all humans makes her likable?
That's just standard issue crazy lesbian these days.
Poison Ivy's character is relatable and loved. That's not necessarily good. That's kind of like people who identify with the Joker or the Punisher. It's a little scary.
All right. I need to make a comparison as I'm latecomer and I got to make up my lost time. And I'm going to speak well of a character I don't like. Okay, but it is relevant. I think the White Queen's a cunt. I hate the White Queen. Okay.
She makes a great Halloween costume, though, doesn't she?
Oh, she do. If the young woman that I'm stepping out with showed up in White Queen cosplay, that wouldn't be the only thing that's white by the time we're done. I swear. But
oh God.
But the thing is that as much as I dislike the character and I don't agree with every permutation of where she's gone since becoming an X-woman, going all the way back to Gen X when she was banging Banshee, I at least credit that they tried a meaningful, believable redemption arc where maybe a villainess looks around and goes, I'm really kind of a piece of shit, and tries to do better. Right? I mean, I don't think she succeeded, but she at least got on the horse. Right? Harley and Ivy. I will grant that Ivy is a more, quote, rational and more supportive associate to Harley compared to the abusiveness of the Joker. Like, she's right. Why do you let him do that shit to you? She's right. But
then she turns around and does the same shit to her.
Right, that, and she is still a diehard villainess. In her best presentations, she's at best people neutral. Okay? And for the people that are all like, well, they lesbian couple, blah, 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 can we talk about all of the books where Ivy has a direct and overt, like, dampness for Batman? And it's not because Batman's cool, it's because Batman's the man she can't have. Because Ivy could have any man she wants. She just blows a little bullshit in their face and they fall in love with her. And the Batman won't.
Isn't that the Batman and Robin movie with Alicia Silverstone and George Clooney?
Oh, no, I'm actually talking about The Long Halloween. I'm talking about the one where Batman finds out that Clayface and Ivy are a thing. There are multiple books where Ivy is like, Batman, take me. And the only book where she actually gets what she wants is Bloodstorm, where Batman is a monstrous vampire killing his villains, and she don't want it.
Well, I feel like and this is not to change the topic or anything, but I feel like Clayface is a really eligible bachelor after his transformation.
I mean, he can be any eligible bachelor after his transformation,
right? Like, but I mean, think about it in a more degenerate context. I mean, he could be anybody down there too,
look,
you know.
Look, if Clayface was smart, he'd leave Gotham forever and move to Tokyo. He'd be famous, wealthy, and happy.
Can I do it without the tentacles this time? No, become an octopus.
But I don't want to. You not wanting it is part of my fetish. God damn it.
Clayface and Beast Boy are just hanging out at the bar after every.
I should have just gone to nursing school. God damn it.
Clayface and Beast Boy are just getting drunk at the bar every night, going, "It was a horse again."
They're sitting at some like techno Tokyo bar with fuzzy drinks with little umbrellas in, and wearing like sunglasses and beaters and shorts. They got their feet up and they just have large sacks of ice on their groinal area.
No, they're depressed because they have to become octopi and horses every time.
They're also depressed, but you know they're
Anyway,
back to Ivy. I'm sorry for that interlude, but you put it in my brain, so I had to make
I need to ask. Can Beast Boy just like change his dick into like a horse cock?
No, he has to become the horse.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he can only become a whole horse to get the cock.
Well, okay. Random side mumble, not even really a tangent, just something that's always confused me. So, while I certainly like Beast Boy,
we have lost all of our viewers on that conversation, boys.
I like Doom Patrol, and I like some of that stuff. There's an episode of Teen Titans where they go back to Tamaran, which is neat, and Beast Boy is jazzed because he meets alien animals, right? Mm-hmm. Why doesn't Beast Boy ever turn into alien animals again? If he can turn into any animal that he has like interacted with, you would think that like Beast Boy would be a natural space adventurer and just expose as much animal weird shit as possible.
Bad writers is why. Also, our guests are back. Let's stop talking about DC penises and move back into Poison Ivy.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently I'm locking up the liquor cabinets because Ezra Miller's coming for my booze.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll have our weekly Ezra update about how he has more charges.
The problem with your theory, Chad, is that if Ezra Miller was coming for my booze, I'd have a large bear trap set out because I'm collecting on that bounty.
There's
and
a bounty?
If there isn't one, I'm going to hold on to Ezra Miller until there is one.
He was charged for a crime in Vermont and then like just issued a self like turn yourself in warrant.
Well. All right, let me amend. I'll capture Ezra Miller, and then I'll call up Warner Brothers and be like, if you want Ezra Miller back...
They don't. That's the problem.
Well, then Ezra Miller's going to Florida, and he's going to go disappear in the Everglades, and I disavow this conversation.
I mean, if there's a reward, I'll go hunt him down. That should be easy.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking Ayrton the bounty hunter. Get some 4-inch lifts and some fucking football pads.
Hell yeah, I
call
will.
him- They call him.
Hey, they're
the Blues Man.
Hey, there is somebody who may need a bounty hunter soon. And do you feel comfortable playing that song?
Which song?
The one that I sent in the back channel.
Oh, let me grab it. All the notifications we got. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, apparently Miss Reno was here earlier. Hi, Miss Reno.
She's here. Oh, the one that says is Star Wars political?
No, it's the one underneath from Blonde to Star Wars. And then there's a YouTube video, and then there's a link. I'm saying we should play the YouTube video first.
Good Christ.
I'm looking. I mean, from Blonde to Star. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'll get that pulled up.
Because I figured that's a good segue because we're talking about murderers.
Well, we got to finish up with Poison Ivy first.
Mm.
I mean, you can't just.
Now I see it.
Well, I mean, we could, but why would we? Because Poison Ivy's not really a good character.
Because
Poison Ivy is a great character. She is used badly by shit writers, and the Harley Quinn show is obnoxious.
She's been made worse by being Harley's girlfriend.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Anyway, Poison Ivy as a character is relatable and loved. People will say she is right because she is mostly right, and she does bad and villainous things, but that does not give you the right to be an asshole to those who relate to her in every other way because she is not a real person. I'm sorry. Everything gives me the right to be an asshole because I'm a fucking American.
well, let's. People are always talking about toxic culture. Let's address that for just a second. I'm sorry, kids. If you're new here and you've never been exposed to comics because you've never read a fucking comic, I hate to inform you, but much like music culture, for music fans, comics have always been vaguely toxic. We judge ourselves based on comic knowledge. We like to challenge each other. We enjoy argumentation, which means, yes, we will judge you for your shit takes about good characters when you don't read fucking books.
Her evolution in comics made Ivy more relatable for girls and gays. She was created as eye candy, a sexy Batman-obsessed woman whose only quality was to seduce men. Her origins are misogynistic and revolve around men. She was created for men to satisfy their fantasies. I wonder who was buying comics when she was created, guys.
Well, wait a minute. I have a better question. She has evolved to be more relatable to women and gays. So what? Does that mean that all women and all gays are implicit murderers or have fantasies of murder
I think that's
and torture?
I think that's the takeaway, yes.
Okay, because, I know that's not true. I know that's not true, and I don't think that's necessarily the direction.
Do you know that's not true? Would you put your life on that, Rune?
Yes. I just want to remind people, my mother, who will be 71 this year, is gay.
But are you sure she's never murdered anyone?
No, because she lived with my father. If anyone was going to die, it was going to be him, and he didn't die by unnatural causes.
Whether you like it or not, that's not who she is now. This didn't happen in one day. She hasn't been that character in a very, very long time. For some reason, people think that it's a bad thing, and they're free to do so.
Is that right?
Obviously not, according to you. Everyone has their own taste, I guess.
Wait a minute. Give me a minute. I will get a date. I have a date for this.
The point that Ivy evolved in comics, and so did her target audience. Hence, what people see in her. You are free to object to it, but being mean to those who like her just makes you very annoying hater and nothing more. Yes, having an opinion just makes you a hater, guys. I can see how comprehending something within its context is incredibly hard for some of you. That's a little bit of projection, if you ask me. Let's finish this thread with an exercise. First step: in which sentence I ever said that she was not an eco-terrorist? Think. Answer. None of them. Second step: now read it all again. I'll not be doing that. So, Poison
Okay.
Ivy, ladies and gentlemen. Let's discuss.
Give me a second, because I'm gonna love this. So, have you guys read the Batman Arkham series?
Yes.
Right.
The ones based on the games?
No. It's a series. It's an anthology series. Each comic is a different villain as the focus. It's called Batman
yeah. I remember
Arkham.
those too.
Right.
I remember those.
There's an Ivy-focused one. Okay. I'm trying to trying to find it because this is good. So in it, Ivy is masquerading as a streetwalker. She's covering herself in skin tone makeup so people don't see that she's kind of green, right?
Uh-huh.
And she is taking out Johns from like sort of rich Patrick Bateman types, right?
Sure.
In 2016. So 4
Does he
years
like
ago,
Huey Lewis in the news?
No, not for like 6 years ago, just roughly, right?
Okay.
She's taking out rich dudes, right? And she's murdering them with a hatchet and stacking the bodies like cordwood, because her argument is that is
like
equivalent to killing a tree and building a house. Okay. She may have changed in certain storylines, but in matter of point, she is still an eco-terrorist and murderess at large, repeatedly. Okay, the Harley Quinn show, which you know is what this person's fucking watching and not reading books, okay, is about a group of villains. These people rob, they murder, they steal, they commit fraud, they destroy property. And you can
they rob and steal.
Yes, they rob and steal, because you can steal.
Well, see, there is a difference.
From someone personally,
right? Yeah, there is a difference. When you rob, you're taking something from someone. When you steal, they might not actually be there to see you take it. Right. It's like the guy that robbed a man of a gun at gunpoint, but then the guy robbed of his gun used his second gun to gun down the guy who robbed him of his gun.
You always have to have a second gun, Church. Come on.
But I've already robbed him of his gun. Yes, you did, but what about second gun?
I mean, for tabletop people, that is the halfling question. If you're playing a real halfling, is not what about second breakfast? It's about what about second gun.
Always worry about second gun, Rune.
But no, my point is that you can say that the show is madcap fun as much as you want. The fact of the matter is that if Batman was doing his job, all of these people would be in jail.
Well,
Harley's form of madcap fun involves destruction of private property and potentially harming innocent people.
I feel like they are all in jail every week, and then one of them somehow gets out because Arkham has shit security. Like, there are more jailbreaks in Gotham than there are anywhere else in the goddamn world. Joker gets out at least once a week.
It's because they have bail reform in Gotham.
I believe
Obama. Thanks, Obama.
Oh no, I actually
no.
Thanks, Trump.
Well, no. The bail reform in Gotham is actually a Wayne Foundation idea.
Wait, is that so Bruce Wayne can have something to do on the weekends? Is he stacking the deck for himself?
Well, I mean, let's be fair. Bruce Wayne's tongue gets tired.
All right, so we've got another musical interlude this week, ladies and gentlemen, supplied by Larry. Let's see if this one catches us a strike or not.
We need to make these a standard thing.
I did open the show with a song.
Yeah, and this song leads into the next story.
To the town of
Santa Fe, New Mexico, Alec Baldwin.
One fine day, hardly spoke to folks about him, didn't have too much to say. No one dared to ask his business, no one dared to make a slip.
Alec Baldwin.
There among them, big iron on his hip. There was 40 feet between them when they stopped to make their play. And the swiftness of
Alec Baldwin
is still talked about today.
42-year-old director of photography, Helena Hutchins. 48-year-old director, Joel Souza.
Did not clear leather for a bullet fairly ripped. And
Alec Baldwin.
his aim was deadly with the big iron on his hip. Big iron on his hip. It was over in a moment and the folks had gathered round. There before them lay the body of
42-year-old director of photography, Helena Hutchins. 48-year-old director, Joel Souza.
on the ground. Oh, he might have went on living, but he made one fatal slip when he tried to match
Alec Baldwin.
with the big iron on his hip. Big iron on his hip. Big iron, when he tried to match
Alec Baldwin.
with the big iron on his hip. Big iron on his hip.
Oh, I'm fucking crying from that. That was amazing.
That was hilarious, and I'm disappointed in you. But it was
Well,
hilarious.
there is a related news story. You have that pulled up, Church?
I got it.
saw.
I got it. It takes a second to switch between screens. If you ever had to produce
right.
a show, you'd know that. Make you be producer 1 week, goddammit. FBI report confirms Alex Baldwin pulled the trigger in fatal Russ shooting.
Oops.
To the surprise of no one anywhere. Where did the FBI find such cutting-edge investigators? Some real detective work. They take the day off from going after parents attending school board meetings. Pretends to be shocked. Hell of a job. Only took how long for this conclusion? I concluded this on October 21st, 2021.
I'm gonna ruin the fun and point out that what I'm sure they were actually saying, though they misrepresented, was that the FBI has proved it wasn't a malfunction, and that Baldwin would have to have pulled the trigger. But that's
He admitted to it in the interview that he did.
I'm just saying that's
in
for a jury
the
to
interview.
decide.
In the interview he said he didn't fire it and said the gun fired itself. And from the article from the New York Post, the feds have all but concluded Alec Baldwin must have fired the weapon on the set of the movie Rust that killed cinematographer Haley Hutchins, according to a bombshell report. According to the FBI forensic report obtained by ABC News, the gun delivered the fatal bullet in the October 21st shooting on a New Mexico set could not have been made to fire without a pull on the trigger. Baldwin star.
Have they determined that she was pregnant with his child yet?
The thing is that it doesn't matter if the FBI verifies shit, because it's still up to a judge and or a jury of his peers. And if they don't agree, they just fucking don't.
Yes, but the FBI has determined that the gun was. There's no way the gun could have been fired without the trigger being pulled.
Yeah, no shit.
And Alec Baldwin said he didn't pull the trigger.
How they work.
Yeah, and Alec Baldwin said he didn't pull the trigger, and no one is disputing the fact that the gun was in his hand when these people were shot. So there's a problem for him.
Was there a grassy knoll in the area?
There was not.
Is there a man with an umbrella nearby?
There was not.
Jesus fucking Christ. Alec Baldwin out here just gunning people down. Ezra Miller stealing liquor. What is wrong with celebrities? Like, can't they just be rich and shut the fuck up?
I mean, don't forget Anne Heche driving into somebody's house full speed.
Yeah, just don't give a shit about any of that. Like, I don't even know anything she's ever starred in.
Anne Heche was in the Psycho remake.
She's starred in Ellen's Bedroom, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I know her from.
Here's the thing.
Those tapes.
Here's the thing. Her unfortunate death aside, Anne Heche destroyed her own career by putting herself onto the pony of Ellen DeGeneres. Okay?
That's not right. I don't think Ellen identifies as a pony. I think she identifies as a spider monkey.
Look, I am gonna make a many decades old hot take, and people are welcome to come be mad at me about it. I don't care. But I don't think Anne Heche was ever gay.
I don't think she was ever attractive.
I am not
Well,
actually.
She may have been schizophrenic.
Let me finish. I'm not actually certain that Ellen DeGeneres is gay. I think that it was timely for their careers to make a big point about being gay.
Nah, dog. I'm pretty sure Ellen. I'm pretty sure Ellen's confirmed.
The thing is,
have you seen some of those things she wears?
Yes, I have also seen her film, and oh god, no. The thing is that it didn't help Anne Heche's career, and it didn't help Ellen's career, because it doesn't matter how gay you are. It absolutely
helped Ellen's career.
It doesn't matter how gay you are. If you're really obnoxious, people don't like you, and eventually chickens will come home to roost. That's why Ellen doesn't have a show no more.
Well, no. Ellen literally has her show because she admitted to being gay.
Right, but she didn't get to keep it because she's an unlikable person.
Right, but she had it for multiple years.
I mean, having it and being a success are two different things.
Her being gay opened the door, and she was known to be gay in the New York and LA comedy club circuit because she would make out with her girlfriends at shows.
Gross.
So she didn't. So she didn't really come out. She came out to the public because she didn't actually hide it.
Come out, but nothing went in either.
Exactly.
Oh man, no, I don't give a shit about her, so I didn't put that on the card. I mean, if you guys want to talk about it, you're more than welcome to. I just have no frame of reference whatsoever.
Right.
I tried to look into it, and I was just like, wait, I don't care about this more than I normally don't care about things.
Right.
But what's funny is everybody talks about the tragedy of Anne Heche dying, but nobody wants to talk about the lady whose house burnt down.
Well, that is the only thing that I knew about her, is that on August 5th, she apparently took a bunch of fucking drugs and then drove about 180 miles an hour into somebody's fucking house after crashing into a garage.
See, I had not heard about this.
Yeah, and also
that's why she was in a coma and on life support.
And alcohol may have also, been used to chase the pills down.
Well, I mean, what else? There's nothing better to take pills with. Back me up here, Ayrton.
I mean, yeah. What else are you supposed to do? Take pills with Red Bull?
Well, only if there's vodka or Jaeger in it.
I believe the answer, according to doctors, is water, like from the toilet.
What's that?
Huh?
Never heard of it.
It's what you put on crops.
What?
Vodka? Coffee?
Brando. It's what plants crave.
All right. So
what we should do, guys? We should do a recording where we watch a movie, and
I actually have a perfect movie. Samurai Cop.
No.
Yes.
No.
It's free on YouTube.
Don't care. It's not even because it's bad. It's because
I'm gonna watch it.
We're gonna watch it. You don't have to. You can turn the volume off. I just need you to be there.
I'm just saying we can.
You want participation marks?
What I'm saying, Church, is we can do things that Red Letter Media hasn't done.
Not that Samurai Cop.
There's another Samurai Cop.
Yeah.
No. The shit movie that was done on one take.
I think that's the same Samurai
There's another Samurai Cop.
Well, I didn't know Red Letter Media had anything to do with this. I feel
like
they have a little more production value.
They not only did a review of it, they also interviewed the guy who made it.
Who the fuck cares about Red Letter Media, though?
They're a very big and successful YouTube channel.
Again, who gives a fuck about them, though, on this panel?
I mean, the three of us all watch Red Letter Media, I think, Church.
Oh,
what I'm
am I the only one that doesn't?
Yes.
What I'm getting at is we do not. We just because we all enjoy schlock, and by God, I enjoy some schlock, does not mean that we need to jump on the let's watch schlock bandwagon and then pretend that we're discount Mystery Science Theater 3000.
No, but I want to watch this and be Discount Mystery Theater 3. That's the whole point. You just laid
I,
out my
th-
entire plan.
I think Church just wants to do it for fun, Rune, not necessarily for content.
If you're just doing it for fun, then yeah. But if we're doing it for content, I'm like, let's do something better. Let's do something different. Let's watch something serious and talk about how it's shit.
Well, here's the thing. We can get our bearings on something the schlock that we're not going to record instead of just having our pilot run on something that we have no idea what we're doing on.
I suppose.
Anyway, moving on. The next thing I had on the card is Daredevil, and we've got Razor Fist here with a hot take.
Well, Razor Fist famously does not like Wade Devil, and that's okay.
Yeah, he's a Frank Miller guy, if I'm not mistaken. He enjoys the tragic. Everyone's gonna die because Wilson Fisk knows who I am now, Daredevil, and that's cool. There are certain.
I don't think it's saying that so much as he just likes the grim street level.
That's Miller.
Daredevil. Yeah, but other people have done it too, not just Miller.
Yeah, but they're using Miller's Daredevil, is what I'm getting at.
Sure, they're using his model.
So Wade kind of threw that in the toy box and was like, I'm going to play with this version of Daredevil. And everybody just kind of like, I don't know about that, Chief. So his go ahead.
The boggle, I mean, I'm certainly you have a different opinion, Church, that's fine. The boggle is that it has been outed that Daredevil might appear in She-Hulk, which is the right engine to reintroduce Tony Cox or Charlie Cox to MCU TV. Right?
I mean,
I don't think so. Not in the way that they're saying they're going to do it.
Well, that's the thing, is that we were weaned, so to speak, on a grim, more serious version of Daredevil, and then using She-Hulk to present a funny Daredevil is going to be like Whiplash. People aren't going to like it.
Well, I think that's a really weird way of saying we were given actual good content, and they're going to try and shoehorn it into something that everyone's already a little skeptical about.
No, they absolutely are. That's absolutely what's going on, because I've told people, I've mentioned it, I think I've mentioned it on this show. Disney only let Netflix have the Marvel license to learn Netflix's model to steal it for Disney Plus. And now
here's the thing: they stole the wrong model. The thing is I think Netflix realized that about halfway through right before they started the Iron Fist series, because that was hot garbage.
Right, but that's
hot garbage.
Yeah, but the thing is that's not the model I'm talking about. I'm talking about Disney stole the streaming model. How do I stream TV good? Right.
No, but they also stole the hot garbage model of how to make a TV show, I think, if you take
they didn't steal they didn't steal how do I do good TV. And even Netflix seems to have forgotten how to do that.
No, I think that was by design. I think that was by design. If you listen to the statement that I just made, I think Netflix saw that the jig was up when Disney Plus kind of got big, and they were like, "Oh, so we've just been making content that they're going to take. Yeah, lock it down, boys. Take our writers off of it. Send somebody over to Fiverr.com to get some scripts. We're done."
So here's the thing.
Wrap it up.
I can see that. Like, I would like to believe that is true. But I have to give the horrible statement that I think that is a idealistic interpretation of things, because that means that they purposely shit-canned Iron Fist instead of just making bad Iron Fist for 2 seasons.
No, because then they also had to purposely shit-can the Defenders.
And shit-can the Punisher.
No, the Punisher wasn't half bad, but that's because everybody that was working on the...
No, the Punisher series was trash.
Okay, it was half bad then. But it wasn't as bad as Iron Fist or the Defenders.
No, it was not as bad as Iron Fist or the Defenders. In part because fucking
they paid $10 for those scripts instead of $5.
Well, especially since Defenders wanted to do 2 Daredevil scripts that should have been Daredevil scripts. But then again, as we've discussed in the past, I'm the outlier here because I'm one of those people that says Elektra is garbage.
I mean, the concept is okay.
We'll get there to Outlier because I feel like me and Larry are going to have a little bit of a creative difference when we get towards the end of the show and I bring up Sandman.
Well, the thing, getting back to focus here, I don't actually have a problem with happy-go-lucky Daredevil, even if the comics way did were stupid. Like, I'm okay with that, with a fun Daredevil. And I don't necessarily think that introducing fun Daredevil is a bad idea. I just think introducing Fun Devil in She-Hulk, bad idea.
I think the only way they could do it, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think the only way they could do it is what Larry suggested in our group chat, is that we need Ace Attorney Daredevil versus She-Hulk.
Yes. Here's the thing. Let's talk hypothetical good world, the universe we don't get to live in, right?
Mhm.
Because we live in the bad place.
Right. They do She-Hulk Attorney at Law, right? Season 1, get all the establishment down, get us to understand who this person is. And then season 2, you could even do last episode reveal. Season 2 is She-Hulk versus Matt Murdock in the courtroom. And then She-Hulk and Daredevil working together on the street, and build it slow, which the MCU used to understand.
No. Here's what I think. I think you need to sprinkle in court cases where they're both opposing one another.
Yes.
And every time you go to one of those scenes, it switches to an animation style that's similar to Ace Attorney that plays out just like a level of the game.
I would be okay with that.
Just this big, shocking, just shift in from live action to animation.
Here's the thing. You do a classic She-Hulk, right?
Yeah.
Right? So she's at the office, and then she's leaving the office, and then she's in the car, and you do her mind space where she's like grumbling about what she just went down at court. Mm-hmm. And then it shunts to a Ace Attorney style video game type style with animation where Matt Murdock is just wrecking her shit.
Objection!
Yes! And when
what do you say, Larry?
And when it jumps back to reality, she's like bent her steering wheel in half because she's so pissed.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Larry?
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a good idea.
Again, Marvel, we've got
have
Moon Knight on trial.
Right. Wait, because we just did this. You have Matt Murdock defending Moon Knight because, of course, Matt Murdock is public defender, and then you have She-Hulk, and She-Hulk is like, I would like to put into evidence this tape. And then they put in the tape, and it's Moon Knight running around in boxer shorts and his slippers, and the Moon Knight cape hanging off of a street lamp, going, "Where's my $20, Drake?"
Public indecency, destruction of public property.
I came up with a great idea for
swearing at a 5-year-old.
Wait a minute. And the winner is that yes, Matt Murdock objects, and when the judge asks for what grounds, he says, "You can't tell that's Moon Knight. He's in a mask."
Go ahead, Ayrton.
Oh no, I was adding on to the list of things he did. Swearing at a 5-year-old.
Yeah. And my idea is we need to do a season of
ketamine.
Yeah, we need to do a season of Moon Knight, which is based on the movie Payback starring Mel Gibson. Says, not everybody knows what their value in life is, but I do. My value is $20 because that's what that fucking nerd Dracula stole from me, and I'm gonna get it back.
You just shoot my suitcases. That's just mean, man.
Dracula's not an Avenger, Moon Knight. Move on. The fucking nerd owes me $20.
Only I get to give Punisher kisses goodnight. He's my homie.
Oh man. All right, Razor Fist had a take here, and he's responding to Dallas Comics. Dallas Comics says, "Y'all are dumb as hell. If you'd see Wade Daredevil as the hipsterific version of the character, you clearly aren't getting what is textually on point. 0 brain cells go into half of these kind of reviews." And Razor Fist responds, "Yeah, I can't imagine any writer who edified the character after decades of tireless work to make him distinct from Batman and Spider-Man. Then Mark, we'll call him Red Batman Wade. The only way to raise your IQ is amnesia. I love that man. He has an insult. Like a lot of people are real prickly with razor fist, but and then you got Daredevil and somebody like, look, it's Red Batman. Like, how the fuck do they know who Batman is in the Marvel universe anyway? But that doesn't matter.
Well, I think that actually happens in DC too. I think somebody refers to Spider-Man in a book somewhere.
Well, Spider-Man actually crossed over.
Right, but I'm just saying. Well, so did Batman, because remember, Dark Claw's a thing.
No. But like that never actually happened. But before that never actually happened, Spider-Man went over and fought with Batman.
Well, it happened twice because Spider-Man and Batman hooked up to fight the Kingpin and Ra's al Ghul, and Batman and Spider-Man hooked up to fight the Joker and Carnage.
Yes.
And Spider-Man also hooked up with Superman to fight Doctor Doom and Parasite, which was the original cross-company crossover.
Oh, yeah. I barely remember that, but that did happen.
Well, I mean, you also have the Punisher and Archie, and Predator versus Archie. Those are some pretty good corporate crossovers.
Now, to play devil's advocate, as I often try to do on this show.
Daredevil's advocate?
Yes. I have a thread by Damon Tweet, whoever that is. Got 70,000 likes, so apparently it's pretty on point. Disney's going to make Daredevil lighter and less serious than She-Hulk show. It's not comic accurate. And then you got a panel of Daredevil, of Matt Murdock showing up in a red sweater saying, "I'm not Daredevil," and devil horns.
Okay, so at some point we're going to go talk about the D&D movie. Okay? And before we get onto that subject,
I actually have something for that. Before we get to there, I'm gonna actually like grease you up by having you go through the 10 D&D tropes it's time to get rid of.
I mean, I've seen that article. I think we talked about it already.
No, we haven't talked about it on the show, and I'm gonna grease you up and get your rage good and going with that.
Before we get into that, though, the thing is that the reason having a silly Daredevil is a bad idea at this stage in the She-Hulk show isn't even because it can be badly done. You can do it really well, but comedy, just like anything else in film, is about setup and payoff. We've been set up for a serious Daredevil. You need to give us a serious Daredevil to set up the surprise of, and Daredevil has fun too, because we're not there yet. If you just jump directly to the joke, it's too jarring. It's too different.
I think you have to accomplish that in a Daredevil show. I don't think you accomplish that by shoehorning it into a fucking She-Hulk show.
You don't even have to do a fucking show. I mean, they've already got the model. They're just doing it with animation. You do a short. You do a single episode, like a what if. Get us acclimated to Tony, or to, I keep saying Tony, but to Charlie Cox as Daredevil. Because they already had the surprise appearance in No Way Home. We know that's going to be their Daredevil.
I'm having a hard time thinking of one right now, but I know that between the four of us, we can all come up with a show that has high tension, high action, and some comedy relief.
I mean, multiple.
Tucker Carlson.
Shut up, Ayrton.
I mean, I was going to say Burn Notice.
Okay, that's a decent example. The Sopranos, I think, is one.
I mean, I liked White Collar. One of the, that makes me weird though.
White Collar was very good.
Some people like the black comedy. I was gonna say some people like the black comedy of American Horror Story.
But I think that you can take that same approach with Daredevil and not get rid of all of the grit and rough and tumble, but add a little comedic relief to where you get a little bit of, because there was even some in the actual Daredevil show where it was a little bit lighter hearted, just not enough to go full I'm not Daredevil in a sweater and horns.
Right. Well, you could even do that. Like if this was being released in October, and it was a Halloween, like they had a Halloween party, and Daredevil shows up in a shirt that says "I'm not Daredevil," that would be funny. I'd be down. It's just do it in a way that doesn't also make your character come off like he's an idiot. That's the thing. I was even actually amused by that clip that was shared from the new She-Hulk clip. I do agree. Why didn't she Hulk out? But at the same time, it's like, no, I can imagine Jen Walters' attorney being stupid enough to have a weird conversation with her cousin Bruce about whether or not Captain America's a virgin. That's funny. It's stupid. It's funny.
All right. So continuing on with the thread so we can get on to D&D for Rune.
Oh boy.
I do want to put into context what this panel, since it makes the rounds a lot. The story itself is from a 2011 Wade run. Is dark, according to this person's opinion. This individual panel is played off as a joke. The page right before it gives it context, but him even putting on the sweater makes me laugh. So we've got a couple of pages here to give context. I'll go ahead and pull those up. So he's looking at something with his vision. I'm not quite sure what this is. Matt, we're waiting on you. What you got there? Nothing foggy. Remnant of a case. It looks like a Fantastic Four symbol. Trying to figure out exactly what to do with it. Must be a big decision. You look miserable like the old pretty women out there, buddy. Let's roll. Like the old Matt, the tortured, guilt-ridden, self-destructive punching bag. Like the friend and partner I know best. Yeah, I hate that guy. Let's go. And then the next page has him, let's see. Let's go. Next page has him rolling in. Happy holidays, people. Welcome to Nelson and Murdoch, home of New York's finest lawyers and best bartenders. Remember, enjoying yourself is not a competition here tonight, because I will win. In that shirt, I know that.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
No, I got it. You know what the problem is with this page and why it doesn't feel like Daredevil?
Why?
Because that's not Matt Murdock. Even if he's a Christmas person because he's a Catholic, that's a Tony Stark page. Tony shows up at the Christmas party and is like, hey, hand me that drink. It's Christmas. I don't care.
No, I mean, it's just because somebody's bombastic and pompous doesn't just immediately make them Tony Stark. All heroes have a little bit of need for humbling occasionally.
Sure, but I'm just saying that it is a real Marvel problem, especially since RDJ took center stage, that every hero has to be Tony a little bit.
Well, that's fair.
Because
I mean,
that's
this is a 2011 book, and I don't advise anybody read anything past 2005, but that's just me. Yeah. Anyway, go read 2011 run of Mark Waid if you'd like. It's not my favorite Daredevil run. That currently belongs to Chip, I assume Zdarsky, the most recent run, but worth checking out if you have the time. And I might because, you know, I'm not a naysayer until I've actually consumed something all the time. But I mean, it's been making the rounds, and like I said, I think the best way to introduce a little bit of levity to Daredevil would have been for Disney Plus to get Daredevil under their feet before they just shoehorned a character that was already beloved and is going to draw even more criticism if they don't offer that fan service that people returning to a show expecting Daredevil that they got on Netflix and not getting it, because I think that's just asking. Here's the thing. I think this whole negative backlash, criticism, advertising needs to stop. I don't think it's healthy for the human condition, so to speak. I think it's a media ploy to get more eyeballs on websites to make auxiliary money on outrage rather than actually making money on the product they're making.
I mean, yes, but also Larry shared a video from Otaku earlier about, is Star Wars political, which is a stupid question. It's a clickbait question. The rest of the video is interesting but irrelevant. The thing I watched.
The thing is he spends that video explaining what the consistent political through line of Star Wars has been in George Lucas's crafting.
In his opinion, and he does have evidence to support, but that's not what I'm getting at. I'm not actually talking about that video, because what I actually watched that he made before you ever linked that was he did a video about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay? And one of the things that he mentioned that I hadn't noticed, and I fucking watched it, is we were talking about how cheap the show is, kind of superficially. But it was actually pointed out to me through his video how many sets get reused.
Yep.
Right? The Boba Fett set gets reused for the Mos Eisley City. There's Planet with Rocks, Planet with Desert, Planet with Rocks, different area on Planet with Rocks. Right? Multiple ship backgrounds get reused for different ships with slight variations to make them look different. Right? There's a lot of reusing. Now, some of that's logical and, cost cutting, because even Star Trek reused shit a lot. Right? But you shouldn't be able to notice it. Right? I know why they didn't do a Daredevil season, 4? Which they should have done, which would have been the smart money. It's because they said, do we want to go through the process of spending a mountain of cash to get sites and set up stunts and do retakes in this post-COVID world? Or do you want to do one show and use
they canceled it. They canceled it before COVID.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying now that they own it, now that it's on Disney Plus, they could have made a new show, which really would have been a season 4 of an extant show they canceled when they pulled it off Netflix, right? To do a Daredevil at expense. Or they can just do a stealth Devil by connecting it to another show, and then based on metrics decide, well, maybe we'll do another one or maybe we won't. But it'll be a Disney joint, and that's different. And they're never going to do. And they're never going to do.
Daredevil show in production.
Even if they do, it's not going to be very good because they've glommed it onto another property.
But they can't do a continuation of the original Daredevil, because if they did that, they'd have to pay certain people on Netflix's side for their IP.
It doesn't matter if it's a different name. It doesn't matter if it's a different.
If it's their ideas. If it's their ideas.
That's not what we're talking about, Larry.
No, that's what I'm talking about. That is why Disney.
What I'm talking about is that if they do a serious Daredevil series, like Church is saying they should have, right? And it has Charlie Cox as Daredevil, who is great, right? Even if they have different actors, even if it's under a different name, even if it has a different set of things, unless it is a wildly different tone, which is what they're getting at, right? It's just a stealth season 4 of Daredevil.
It has to be a wildly different tone, otherwise they're going to have to pay Netflix money.
Right. That's what I was getting at. And that's not going to make it good, because they can't make it good. That's why they were stealth connecting it to She-Hulk, because then She-Hulk is quirky fun, and they can say, oh no, our Daredevil's quirky fun. Didn't you like him in She-Hulk?
I'm not entirely certain that it's going to be the worst thing we've ever seen, but what I'm saying is that I think that if you introduce Daredevil into a quirky, fun show and don't deliver on that slightly grittier, more hard aspect of what made Daredevil prominently the best Netflix Marvel product ever produced, then you're going to invite a lot more of that online rage that, again, I think they're using for advertising and to promote a divide in the community, but I don't think it's going to do anything for their ratings. Again, it's going to lead to them getting more money from clicks on, advertisements and things of that nature, but it's not going to make them any money on the product they're producing, which has been the model for fucking 10 years now, it seems. But anyway, I think that's enough about Daredevil. I think we get the point that it could be crap, and I don't think any of us on the panel agree that what they're doing right now is the proper motivation for the character. But I think we can all agree that they don't give a shit about that. What we do give a shit about, though, is Rune's opinion on Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh boy. Here we go.
So we've got 10 Dungeons and Dragon tropes, so it's time to end, Rune. And you're a bigot if you don't believe that.
I mean, no, we knew that. We knew I'm a giant bigot.
So very powerful NPCs in every city.
Okay.
Although the player characters are protagonists of their campaign, they are far from the only adventurers in their world. To add depth to the setting and serve as the benchmark for player characters, many D&D settings have several powerful NPCs. such as the kingdom's finest sorcerer or a famed dragon slayer. On their own, these aren't a problem. However, in settings like the Forgotten Realms or Greyhawk, can go overboard with these. In those settings, modern iterations, there are so many powerful NPCs that some players question why there are any problems that need solving and why low-level adventurers are even needed.
You know what's hilarious is what you just said there, modern intonations, because in the 70s and 80s, D&D had a rule that covered this exact problem.
Which is?
D&D spec'd out any given type of area in a campaign. Here's the highest level person you'd find. If you're in your starting level village, congratulations. The highest person you'll find is a level 13. Right. A level 3, excuse me.
That is
if you're in the capital.
That is a rule that exists, but this entry is disingenuous because it says Forgotten Realms and Greyhawk in the same breath, right? No, this is not a Greyhawk problem, although Greyhawk has very powerful NPCs that exist. This is specifically a Forgotten Realms problem, and it's not a at-the-table problem. It is a problem born of Forgotten Realms fiction. This is a novel problem, because Ed Greenwood and his fellows couldn't shut up about their setting and populating it with all kinds of fancy characters. Elminster can suck my dick. But this is a problem that has existed far longer than, quote, the modern incarnation of these things.
Also, didn't Elminster also used to wear the belt of gender change?
Yes.
And isn't that problematic?
Yes, and he used to have sex with the goddess of magic.
Ayrton, check the side chat real quick. All right. Is that all we want to discuss on this one? I mean, I think that's pretty succinct. It's not a table problem. It's a book problem. So this is a
It's older than dirt. It's older than dirt.
Yeah, it's a non-issue with people that have any experience whatsoever playing the game, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
All right. Casters being more powerful than marshals. A problem that's always plagued D&D is that characters with spellcasting tend to be more powerful than those without. Martial characters are typically good for dealing and withstanding physical damage. Sometimes, with a new non-combat trick, spellcasters, on the other hand, are ever-evolving bags of tricks, typically capable in combat and without. There have been numerous attempts to balance this in D&D, with 5th edition putting several limits on spellcaster power. Nonetheless, the problem persists in nearly every edition, making fighters and barbarians feel less rewarding to play than bards or clerics.
So let me amend this entry for
where am I checking, Church?
The side chat in StreamYard. I'm sending it to you now.
Pull
this up and keep going through it. I'm gonna step away in a second.
Let me amend your entry here, Church. What this entry actually says is, let me tell you, I haven't played any D&D except D&D 3 and more. Without telling you, I've never played anything older than D&D 3. See, there's a cocksucker who in the D&D 3 days had this idea of game design called Ivory Tower game design, where a character focusing on their class would be stronger than a character that diversified. Okay, well, that makes sense. But then he also introduced the idea of quadratic mages, that wizards, sorcerers, and other spellcasters would get 2 times as powerful for every level than everything else, because at the end, because when you were done, mages can do anything, and non-mages were basically fucking themselves in the ass. And this pernicious problem has followed across editions. It's not a new problem, it's an artificial problem. If you go back to 1st and 2nd ed, I'm sorry, your wizard started with 4 hit points. How you balance the game is because if that dumb fuck gets into melee combat, that's a dead dumb fuck.
That's why you cast Mage Armor, which was a much better spell back in those editions.
Well, right. Isn't there also like cross training that you can do, and you can actually cross being a martial and a spellcaster, so you can kind of like bridge that gap?
In older editions, it was at much greater difficulty, and there were limits on how high you could go. The real trick here is that there is an implicit balance between the classes and what they do. And the only reason that spellcasters come off as more powerful than non-spellcasters is because, as with many game systems, GMs ignore the weaknesses of classes. They don't impose the limitations. Right? As of, for instance, just pointing this out there to you dumb assholes listening, if any of you are listening and you play D&D and don't know, the reason you have spells per day and the reason you have to pray or memorize them is because, oh, right, you're supposed to determine those before you go adventuring and not change them until the end of the day. Which means you write them down in advance. Which means you can't change them on the fly. Which means it's not a set of spells you happen to have fluffy and you just pull the spell you want from the back of the book in the moment. You have to plan ahead, asshole. So tell me about sexy bards, Church.
So number 8.
Oh, I see.
Who wants to read
Ayrton's
this
going to
one?
be sexy. Ayrton, tell me about sexy bards.
One of you guys is going to have to read it while I scroll.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, Ayrton, you are a sexy bard, so it's only
You are,
appropriate
in
for
fact.
you.
No, I would if I could physically read this.
All right. Well, Larry,
All right,
just
here we go.
it.
Overly sexual bards could be a player problem. Well, why are you focusing on sexuality in the game? Not all problematic tropes in Dungeons and Dragons come down to writing or game mechanics. Some spring up in player culture. One of the most infamous is the stereotypical depiction of the bard class. Because of its focus on charisma skills and its associating with music, many players cast the bard as a sexually minded character, prone to treating every encounter as potential romance. No, potential bang. Romances take time. You're a hobo. You don't have time for romance.
Read
You
the
do have
last
time to bang.
paragraph. Read the last
Well,
paragraph, Larry.
While the archetype can be funny, no, it's not. It also risks becoming tedious and one note, because it is, or even uncomfortable for other players at the table. Player culture has begun swinging against it. Not really.
What do you mean
Many
begun? What do they mean begun? We've always hated this. Carry on.
Yeah. With many players preferring alternative description of the class than just a rock star stereotype. I mean, yes, you can make a bard that's a spy.
So again,
you can make a bard that's a pro wrestler.
So again, tell me you've only played D&D 3 without telling me you played D&D 3. Okay.
And again, you can make a bard that's a professional wrestler. It's not even hard.
But more importantly, in 2nd edition, bard became its own class. In 1st edition, bard was called multi-class magic user because to be a bard evokes the imagery not of the modern minstrel dancing around with his fucking lute. It is the Gaelic proto-lawyer that is the lead-in to become a druid. There's a cultural context here. You used to start as a fighter, and once you had been enough of a fighter, you became a thief. And then once you had stolen enough shit, you became a magic user because you were progressing through a series of skills towards an ultimate goal loosely defined as bard, because your actual level had a name associated with it, an actual role. Like the top level of an assassin for thieves was called the grandfather of assassins, right? Whereas a level 1 thief is called a pickpocket. Okay?
Because that's what you do.
Right. The quote sexy bard problem.
1st edition D&D was more like Final Fantasy Tactics then.
Kind of. But ultimately, the sexy bard thing is a new culture thing and doesn't really apply because...
I mean, it was kind of...
All you have to do to fix it is just not endorse it. Expect more out of your bards. Encourage your players to be more than the stereotype. Because, yeah, every 12-year-old playing their first D&D character is like, are there any hot chicks? I want to do them. But after your 12th game, if you're still letting people do that, you slap them in the face. And then you slap yourself in the face for not having the wherewithal to stop them.
Well, I mean, then you say, well, listen, bro, I'm not having you roll the dice for that. You have to seduce me.
Yeah.
That's right.
Seduce the GM, win the game. I'm immune to titties.
So let me read the next one because Rune provides such a natural bridge. Druids and their uncertain metal armor. Nature-themed spellcasters pattern themselves after the ancient Celtic priesthood. The Druid class has more ties to the natural world than other classes. One of the most notorious ways this manifests is Druids not wearing metal armor. They don't avoid armor because it's because they're unable, but because their classes they choose not to do so. The restriction is controversial among fans. No, they're not fans, and also it's not controversial. It imparts a broad role-playing choice on many characters while also being vaguely worded. It gives druids the worst armor choices that many similar powerful classes and doesn't even make sense. You know what you do is your druid needs to have some dexterity, so he doesn't need to worry about armor.
It's not
Druids,
even that's not even the problem.
We're not even to the done of this stupid. Druids happily spend currency, sleep in inns, and wield metal weapons and tools, yet armor is off limits.
Well, they shouldn't be wielding metal weapons.
Nope. They should be wielding wooden weapons that they've made themselves most of the time.
Well, because if you're a druid and you're halfway smart, you're casting Shillelagh on your club, which makes it a magical weapon. It's one of the first magical weapons you can get at level 1.
Yep.
But I'm just checking something real quick because yet again, here we go. Tell me you've only played D&D 3 or more. Yeah.
This is a problem of not having enough old heads in the game, is what you're saying.
Not just that. This is actually a mechanical change that hurt the game that the writers made that needs to be fixed by expanding material.
Because the writers want to have game balance.
In the adventuring equipment, they reduced the number of arms and equipment available. Right? They took away a bunch of tools. Like if you look at pole arms, they're all basically the same. If we look at second ed D&D, right? Mm-hmm. There is a thing called banded mail. Okay? It is literally, what if I made armor out of wood? You know, like a samurai. Mm-hmm. Druids can wear that shit. There's also splint mail, which is a variant. But either way, it is armor of the appropriate type that is competitive with other, quote, medium armors.
Let me interject here, Rune, because I have an idea now, and I'm going to write this down if it's something that can be done, because I'd like to do it at some point.
Okay.
So you're telling me that at high enough level, a druid in almost any setting can essentially make banded mail, like samurai armor, and a wooden, like, training sword, and cast Shillelagh on it, and whip the shit out of people with a wooden sword and samurai armor.
Logically, yes. And you fucking should.
and I know where church is going, I think.
I'm making notes.
Church wants to quietly Rurouni Kenshin his way to victory? I mean, what?
Musashi, but yes.
Oh, yeah, no, go with it.
A Bodor and a wooden sword, and I just fuck everybody up.
The other thing is that this limitation that's described does not apply to certain magical armors, right? Gnome druid wearing gnomish leather, not affected. Probably affected if you're a dwarf wearing dwarven mail, but not if you're a human or an elf wearing elven mail. There are exemptions that exist that just aren't used anymore because people don't know.
If you have a problem with this play style, then you just can at table craft your rules to basically make the world you live in Phyrexian, where metal is also organic.
Right. There are a lot of workarounds and there's a lot of arguments, and this is a non-problem. It's also saying you're not very creative. And that's a real problem I find with the youngest generation of D&D players. I talk about this with the OSR guys sometimes. Yeah. It's just they think that the corpos are going to get mad, and the corpo police are going to come in on black ropes and kick in their door. If, oh God, you're playing the game in the incorrect fashion, somebody's going to get mad.
Well, we, I think I came across a thread at one point in time where I'm looking at this and listening to what you're saying, and it sounds a lot like the last generation of children to graduate from high school. When they were kids in elementary school, they just didn't have the selection of things like Animorphs and Goosebumps, and nobody reads any fucking more. Nobody has an imagination because they don't use that muscle.
I mean,
you know, if you didn't see it in League of Legends, you have no fucking clue.
The thing is, you and I were talking last night about some private subjects, and I mentioned My Old Man, right?
Yeah.
Living with My Old Man was pretty shitty, okay? The reason I read comics, the reason I watched cartoons, and the reason I drew a shit ton and read a lot of books was literally because I couldn't go anywhere, but being anywhere other than home was a good place to be. So I have a pretty good imagination muscle. And yeah, I can't understand people who don't.
It's really simple. You oh, hold on. I got to step away.
Okay.
Continue.
I'm just saying, the idea that anyone would actively choose to live in this shithole and nowhere else is horrible. All right.
Let's read the next one while Church is dealing with
scroll
small.
up a bit because I missed the entry. I don't see the words.
Well, I mean, I can read it.
Okay, we'll proceed.
Lone wolf characters don't work well in parties. Featuring Gerald of Melbourne. I mean, Gerald of Rivia. A common fictional archetype.
You mean Elric of Rivia, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Common fictional archetype is the lone wolf character. Doesn't like to work with others and is quiet and a solitary figure, even though he's constantly working with others all the time and hating it. They're often the coolest characters around, including in fantasy, leading players to try to emulate them. Attempted lone wolf characters aren't a rarity in D&D. They almost never work. It's an inherently team-based game, with players traveling in parties. A character who needs working with others will become tiresome. This trope is infamous among players and something new players are often warned against.
I mean, yes, but that's not D&D's fault. That's an at-the-table problem with players, because we all want to be the cool guy. The other boggle is, it's not that, quote, lone wolf characters don't work. It's that the people playing them don't understand how to make them a functional component of the party, and the party working with them don't know how to entreat them to make them part of the party, right? As a for instance, your characters go on an adventure, you come to a place, you sit down, you camp, right? This is the environment where if your character's sitting there doing something, another character should be like, "Hey man, what's that thing you got there? Where'd you get that? What's going on?" That's how you get to know each other. And I have almost never seen games where people do that. They don't entreat each other as characters like people,
really,
and get to know each other. They often
wait,
each other
really?
like, yeah, really. Only with
That's
the
like
very best.
That's all my games that I've played.
Only with the best players have I found that experience. I often find, especially among younger players, that they just don't. They treat their character's class like it's also their character's personality. Right? I have a character. I don't pull him out a lot. He is, I invented him when I was 15. He is the quintessential lone wolf edgelord character with a tragic backstory, right? And no, he doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't talk a lot because getting to know people, they generally die. So why invite that pain? But there's a nice guy in there. He can be reached by people who try.
All right, next up is number 5, magic items being both rare and necessary. Well, being rare is a DM choice, and necessary is also a DM choice.
Yeah, there's actually 2 problems here. The first is okay.
We only just read the headline.
Yeah.
Magic items are an important thing in Dungeons and Dragons, not necessarily. They're one way characters gain power besides level up, and they provide a good loot reward to find at the end of a dungeon. There are things to do other than the dungeon guides. In contrast to prior editions, 5e holds that they're entirely optional, and that players don't need access to them at all. again, tell me you've not played older editions without telling
me. Tell me you've only played third or more.
While this makes magic items feel epic as loot, it poses several problems. But the system design, any character without either spells or magical weapons will struggle in combat by 5th level. No. Wouldn't it be fun if Math wasn't the game you were playing, but a game where you were a fantasy character? And risks becoming irrelevant by the game's end. And as a result, magic items can become rare, making martial party members struggle, or so commonplace that they lose some of their prestige.
Right. So again, there are two problems here, and the third issue is, of course, tell me you've only played 3rd edition or more, because in 3rd edition they introduced the idea of the magical economy, a pernicious, terrible idea that refuses to go away. With this idea that you need magic items, you don't need magic items. You never needed magic items. They're convenient. They're nice. If you need them, you're not thinking very creatively, right? So magic items being rare, magic items should be rare. They're supposed to be meaningful. You can have them be more commonplace. That's a choice, like you say. But by and large, if you just give way too much magic, then you're playing Monty Hall. The game is reduced to a game show. It's about getting fat loot. If you're story centric, then you're doing yourself a disservice, right? But no, they should never be necessary. And the best example, especially if you're not a reader, you want to go watch something, is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. Yeah, sure. Frodo has Sting. Good job, right? But nobody else. Before the King's Sword is reforged in Return of the King, has a magical sword. Everybody just has regular fucking equipment. How do we fight the cave? How do we fight the cave?
The magic of Sting was just, there's some enemies nearby.
Right. But the important thing here is that how do we fight the cave troll and all those orcs? With tactics and teamwork. The two things that keep you more alive than your magic items. Your magical doodads don't save you. Your magical doodads help you. Being smart saves you.
Wait. You're saying that this can of bat shark repellent isn't useful?
I'm saying the can of bat shark repellent is useful against sharks, but if you don't have a shark handy, it's also a good explosive if you know what you're doing.
Here's another specific 5e problem.
This is actually just a 5e problem, but continue.
One of the most iconic martial classes in 5e is the Barbarian, a class that uses sheer force and anger to hold its own against the monsters of the world. Alongside the fighter, they serve as a symbol of the martial might, with their base class abilities emphasizing their raw power and physical might. Their subclasses, however, tend toward the magical. Other than the path of the Berserker and the path of the Battle Rager, most have some form of magical ability.
There's also the path of the Juggernaut. So there's 3. So they don't even know their own thing.
Yeah, carry on.
Often basing their entire subclass around it. While most players don't mind the idea of magical barbarian, something making nearly every subclass magical undercuts the point of the class. It's almost like they didn't actually make every subclass magical. They gave you a handful of options that dipped into other magic classes while allowing you to become a more rageful or berserk or juggernautish fucking fighter barbarian type. Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I appreciate that church has anger. Because see, there's another problem here. As you say, this is a 5e problem. This is literally the tell me you've only played 5e, and to a lesser extent 3rd. Because see, I recently acquired the reprint of Unearthed Arcana from AD&D 1. It's nice. And right here on page 18 is the Barbarian. And the Barbarian's XP progression and everything, and its benefits and what it does. And there are 2 things besides being able to, like, for instance, detect illusions innately and disbelieve, that they can't replicate in 5e, which would confuse the shit out of everyone. Because a Barbarian is basically also a ranger and does a lot of woodcraft. The first one is fire making.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to make fire is deemed a vital and unique skill to the Barbarian. Because whereas a ranger or other wilderness inclined character might say make a fire for personal use to stay warm and for light, the barbarian has a relationship with fire as a tool. So if the barbarian's going to go to war with some dudes, he'll set a large area on fire and herd them in a given direction, or create smoke screens, or create barriers to prevent people from fleeing, and any number of other things with fire making that you have to know how to do to control it, right? But the big one, the one that I like, is barbarians got followers en masse. A barbarian would get hundreds of other barbarians who just show up to be like, hey, you're a big scary war leader, you've done all kinds of shit, we want to go kill things with you and get glory. I would love it if my barbarians could get minions. But 5e is not about minions. 5e is the newest incarnation of dungeon punk, and the idea that a barbarian is a one-man adventuring party onto himself runs counter to that.
I mean, fighters also used to get minions.
Well, everyone got minions, but barbarians were the only people who got, like, potentially hundreds of minions. Because they could literally form a war band. The barbarian horde, led by you.
That would be pretty awesome. You'd just be Grarn, son of Gorn, or fucking Tiamat, son of Tiamat.
It's extra funny because more than one person has pointed out that back in the day when we used to do serious D&D and do the Tomb of Annihilation, you would specifically bring a barbarian at a given level, so we had hundreds of mooks, and then use them as Timmies, because we're gonna need another Timmy. That one just walked into a trap.
Hey, get one of your boys to go through these woods real quick and see if there's anything in there.
It was only a problem once the morale started to break from the attrition.
Disposable humanoid races as enemies is apparently a problem that needs to be done away with.
I mean, it's not.
The nature of race in Dungeons and Dragons has been a hot button topic in 5th edition. Tell me you've only played 5th edition.
Yeah.
Resulting in an overhaul published by Tasha's Guide of Everything. One trope that continues to pervade, however, is the tendency to treat humanoids from races like orcs or goblins as more inherently villainous and disposable than those from traditional player character races. I literally begged to play a kobold.
I mean, I would let you do it.
No. I'm saying the last game of D&D I played was D&D 5e, and I built up a winged kobold character that could, like, barely fly. He could only, like, hover to where he was going, and then he had to drop. He couldn't, like, actually fly.
Right. I mean,
but, because my dexterity was so good, because I was a monk.
Hey, no, I get it. I had an Aarakocra monk who was all about. I use my talons for my monk strikes because it's clawed, so it does more damage.
By the end of the little campaign that they had set up, it was only like 4 sessions. I was outpowering the barbarian easily.
I mean, little lizard is strong.
Little lizard had enough dexterity to, like, double damage that fucking barbarian. Anyway, 5e adventures aren't devoid of heroic kobolds or goblins. Of course they aren't. I was one. Well, I wasn't heroic, but I was on the side of the player characters. But the races as a whole are more likely to be used as cannon fodder in encounters without much thought. The issue remains controversial, but the design is starting to veer away from using entire races as disposable minor villains and incorporate more nuanced approaches.
So, this was never true, because it was never a problem. We never had a problem with the idea of monstrous adventurers being intelligent, right?
Or that, them orcs don't have souls, they have spirits, and the spirits are evil.
But also, outside of certain fantasy settings, certain fictions, we never believed they were disposable. Nobody in character was ever like, they're goblins, just kill the trash mob. And if your character did, other characters should be frowning at you. That's what alignment was about. Okay? If people need to know what it's actually like, how it should actually play out, your answer is Goblin Slayer. All
Yeah.
right? Where, yeah, the Goblin Slayer is insane and a murderer, and he mass murders and genocides goblins. But you know what? If he doesn't genocide goblins, the goblins do terrible fucking things that need not be recited in this podcast.
Yeah, we're not quite past the 2-hour mark yet.
Yeah.
Don't be anti-Semitic, Rune.
My 7-year-old is very upset that we've closed her door so she would go to sleep.
Oh. Does listening to Daddy talking on the internet?
No, she doesn't like going to sleep.
No, I'm just envisioning in some years little.
No,
little
she likes showing me videos with cute animals in them and asking me if she can have one.
Oh, okay.
But especially while I'm in the middle of doing something.
Has she asked you if she can have a sugar glider?
She's asked me if she can have unicorns, baby gargoyles, turtles, kitty cats, puppy dogs, unikitties.
This has been your adorable moment of the Gospel of Comics.
Many combats in a day are apparently a problem. Many tables treat Dungeons & Dragons combat as a particularly cinematic affair, preferring 1 or 2 high-power fights a day, each encounter risking character death and showcasing enormous attack. This actually isn't the game's intended design, which is a battle of attrition fought over a long adventuring day. Official guidelines recommend that a DM should have players engage to 6 to 8 fights during the average adventuring day, properly challenging them. However, this results in many low-threat filler fights that can quickly turn tedious. It can also slow sessions down because each combat takes time to complete. Many would rather have fewer encounters and fewer resources to burn.
Again, this is not a problem, and this has never been true, because the DMG is a book of suggestions.
I've never sat down to a game of D&D, and we've had more than 2 fights in a sitting.
Yeah. Never.
I've never seen that happen, except if you count an encounter where you headbutt a guy who got in your way at the bar and he took a swing at you and you fucking kicked him in the balls and he fell over and didn't attack you anymore in the fight, then yeah, we've had 6 to 8 encounters in a day. But if you're actually talking about rolling rolling for initiative and big, long, drawn-out grid-based fights, no more than 2 in a session, and those were long sessions.
Well, the thing is that also that this disingenuous bullshit infers that D&D combat is some kind of super cinematic affair that's light and easy and fast, and then complains about it taking time. They don't know what taking time is. Taking time is when I ran a month-long combat, because we played once a week, right? Yeah. That was one continuous combat. It started on the first Saturday and ran for 3 more Saturdays because it was a siege. And I had them run every stage of the siege. Right? So hundreds of gnolls died to my adventurers whose resources continued to dwindle throughout the day. Right? And we described in combat how it went from, okay, it's this fight starts in early afternoon, and now it's nighttime, and now it's midnight, and now it's almost dawn, and God, you're tired. And yeah, by the end, my players were kind of fried eggs. They were a little like, oh God, more combat, is it over yet? But at the same time, when it was finally done, right, when they killed the war leader, the horde broke, and they saw the bad guys running for the hills, everybody was super jazzed. They were way excited.
Because they accomplished something.
Yeah, it was worth it. So what you're literally saying is that you both want to reduce the threat, because combat should be avoided or subverted if possible, and you want to also reduce the number of opportunities to have a feel-good feeling about your game in order to create a feel-good game. Those two things are oppositional. Combat is not wrong. Bad combat is stupid.
Half of the characters being orphans is your final your final top 10.
That's a table problem where the DM doesn't say, y'all are stupid. But you know what? No. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say is you start your entry group in the orphanage.
We don't even have to read this entry because it's just made up. They ran out of things to complain about.
Okay, but it's the number one problem.
It's not. It is not a problem to anyone. It has never been a problem. Because in the first, as Larry says, it's an at the table thing. If you have 6 players and need 6 orphans, you go, come on, guys. The other thing is that this is a fiction problem from books. Okay? And if you want to talk
I was an orphan,
authors,
but I was an orphan because I was a kobold. I'm pretty sure we're all orphans because our parents are all killed.
But here's the thing. If you want to have an argument about fiction needs to have less orphans, you can put it right next to fiction needs less heroic amnesia, and that's fine. But don't tell me, well, we need less orphans. That's your D&D table, because it's like, guess what? Most of the time, I don't give a shit. You know what I've actually cared about? You know what actually comes up when
the fact that they even tried to have a backstory.
No, like when a player such as myself insists on the fact that I have family.
Here's my thing though. Like, at least when you sit down as a DM and even if everybody shows up and they're like, well, yeah, we all ended up being orphans, they at least tried to have a backstory.
Right. I mean,
they at least put some effort into it being more than I just rolled the big numbers, Rune.
Well, I mean, the OSR crowd would grumble at you and say, emergent gameplay, you don't need a background, but that's disingenuous bullshit, and they're full of shit. The actual thing here is, for instance, I ran a barbarian named Pixathor in a game called Peasant Quest, where the experiment was, okay, we're going to start at negative level 5, or negative level 1, 5 levels, right? And we're going to start as peasants and grow into being adventurers and see what happens, right? So my thing is that my character had literally been adopted by a traveling caravan, raised in the caravan. It's like, no, I have a mom and a dad and a little kid brother and friends I care about. My character had all kinds of people to be invested in. Why was he being an adventurer? Well, he wanted to get famous and he wanted to get wealthy, sure, but also it was like, I gotta protect my peoples. I gotta do good by my people who took care of me.
Right.
The very idea that everyone chooses to be grim, gritty, lonely orphans is literally a superficial assertion with no basis in fact at all.
Well, I think we've gotten Rune good and riled up for the actual meat of the topic here. Dungeons and Dragons movie is still making the same mistake. You have any thoughts on the D&D movie before I get into this?
Yes, it's making the same mistake of not being good.
I mean, that's the sum total. But in fact, this article is going to outline a mistake. That is not the mistake. It's hilarious. They point out an entire set of things that are wrong with the movie, and none of them was actually wrong with the movie. Proceed.
Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is making the same mistake previous Dungeons & Dragons film adaptations have made. One of the 2022 San Diego Comic-Con's reveals was a trailer for Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. The trailer indicates the movie is going to focus on a party of 5 main characters adventuring through a live-action Dungeons & Dragons campaign. A number of classic Dungeons & Dragons monsters are also confirmed to make appearances in the film's adaptation of the classic tabletop game. Yet for all this potential, the movie looks set to repeat past problems. The Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves trailer also shows up a hearty number of Easter eggs, and there are plenty of encouraging signs the movie will make a good faith effort to incorporate a lot of different elements from the game. However, the trailer has also proven to be somewhat controversial. Some of the controversy stems from a perceived lack of diversity in the 5 main characters and Dungeons & Dragons playable character type perspective. Other areas of concern are a bit more technical in nature, one example being the controversial Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves Owlbear. Arguably the biggest mistake
I'm just going to squeeze in here real quick. People are upset about the owlbear because the druid turns into one, and a druid can't turn into an owlbear. Proceed.
Arguably the biggest mistake that is hanging over the Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is a mistake. That'll be $15.99 for each time I've said Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, guys.
Right.
is a mistake that also plagued the film's adaptation predecessors. No, there are no indications Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves will feature a split storyline between the 5 main characters or actual players controlling these characters within the campaign. That is a huge mistake, and it essentially ignores the base game's key component. It also doesn't help the fantasy-based lore in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is quite derivative of previous work. Even worse,
now that you've pointed it out, this has that serious 5-paragraph essay thing where somebody was under a deadline and just tried to find as many ways to say this entire movie title to eat word count and hopes that their professor doesn't notice.
Quite derivative of previous work. Even worse, history is shown in other media that featuring both aspects of Dungeons & Dragons experience can be absolutely successful. The relationship between the players and also the dungeon master is one of the most important elements in Dungeons & Dragons. These interpersonal relationships make a big difference for campaign stories, and not exploring them is yet another character problem. I'm not reading this goddamn title again. I think we've got the gist of this, and you know what? I think the problem is this motherfucker doesn't want a Dungeons & Dragons movie. He wants a Jumanji sequel.
No, he wants a Stranger Things sequel, which is what, or Stranger Things movie, which is what he actually says in the next paragraph.
I see it, but I'm just not reading the title 8 more times. I'm not doing it. Fuck them.
Yeah, no. Let's get to the subject. So first and foremost, this dipshit, okay, this paint-breathing moron asserts that a D&D movie needs to literally be people playing D&D. Now, some of those are actually funny. I own a copy of Darkness Rising. We want to watch a stupid schlocky movie, okay? But really, no. Your D&D movie does not need to be people playing D&D for D&D people to get it. Okay, I'm sorry. We didn't all go to the same backwards school that you did, where eating paint chips was a requirement for graduation. Okay, but
look, the purpose of this was to get the church to read the title of the movie 15
right.
times.
The actual problem here with Honor Among Thieves, okay, is twofold. One, it looks fucking cheap. All right, it looks like community theater, much like the Amazon Lord of the Rings, because they're like, let's do a fantasy series or let's do a fantasy film on a budget. When Peter Jackson has shown the model is there, if you want to succeed at fantasy, you must take the fiscal hit. A fantasy movie that looks good is expensive. Full stop. The next problem is,
and they have no faith that they can make that money back at the box office, so they can't get funding.
But the next problem, and I think the one that's actually going to hurt it, is that somebody thought that D&D was a comedy again. Now they're trying to aim for quirky adventurers, a la Guardians of the Galaxy, right? But they fundamentally failed to misunderstand the idea, something relative to what we were talking about with Daredevil. Fun, comedy is not innate. It's not funny because it's a clown, and it's not funny because the clown's pants fell down because the clown fell on his face. It's funny that the clown fell down and his pants fell down on his face while he's acting like he has dignity. Okay, there's a subtext to the hilarity. You have to set it up and you have to pay it off. It needs to be, you need to have some parts that aren't funny to make the funny parts funny. All right? Well, you can have comedy in a D&D movie, but it needs to be a believable fantasy movie.
Isn't that what I was just saying about Daredevil, though?
That is what you were just saying about Daredevil. And I'm saying that's the problem here. Is back-to-back funny's not gonna be funny.
Well, and also,
but if you do back-to-back-to-back, then it's funny again.
No.
Hey, the rule of 3 is a central comedy rule.
Look, I am a fan of a movie called Your Highness. But I freely admit, it is a bad movie. It is a shitty stoner comedy. Right? But it happens to be funny because it is outrageous and lowbrow in contrast to good fantasy. Right? This film isn't even trying to be good fantasy that's sometimes funny. All right? I know that when you saw the trailer, when we all comparatively looked at the trailer, Church, that you said that scene with the Captain Kirk playing the lute was going to be funny. Yeah. And it might. But let me tell you, that's also probably one of the only good scenes in the movie in the trailer.
You know what's going to be actually funny if that scene's not in the movie at all and was specifically made for the trailer, like the MCU's been doing.
Oh, it might entirely be that actor got fucking bored and knew he was gonna flub a take, so he just decided to fucking goob out and play his lute silly because he had to carry around this piece of wood, right? And they filmed it, and then they don't actually use it. That is entirely possible. All right.
That would actually be like ironic funny to me. I think
they're gonna take this in the direction of rude humor and Damon Wayans references with a cute action girl, right? And think they're gonna make a D&D movie, and they're not, because the
Damon Wayans references are 10 years outdated. First and foremost.
Yeah, really. And it's not even Damon. It's the other one. It's the other Wayans
Marlon.
brother. Yeah, it's Marlon.
Well, I mean, Damon has a kid who's an actor now.
True, but
is that who's in this movie?
No, I mean, I fucking hope not. But the thing is that if you want a D&D film, if Watsy is listening, pay the fuck attention. If you want a D&D movie, for the love of God, do a serious fantasy film with the name D&D slapped on it. It's that easy.
But the question I think that this article is asking is, do you make a classic fantasy film a la Lord of the Rings, or do you make a Jumanji-like film where you have players connected to the characters?
You make a Lord of the Rings. You do not make a Jumanji.
So here's the thing. I want to take the Jumanji comparison away for a moment. You can bring in...
No, you can't do that. I don't allow it.
No.
Well...
You can bring the players in a more intelligent way.
Before we dig into this, if you really needed Jumanji, then you literally reference the 1980s D&D cartoon. You have a bunch of normals who play the game, get pulled into a fantasy world.
Yes, you do that. But here's if you're going to bring in the players as a metatextual thing, you do what they did in Tron. The players go to some temple, and that's where they commune with the divine voice, and the divine voice is the player, and it says something stupid. The character's like going, what the fuck? You could do something like that. That's more intelligent than what they're proposing. But seriously, make the old D&D cartoon as a movie. That's a better idea.
I mean, I've seen that.
Good characters.
I've seen that modern incarnation of that commercial, and that was pretty good. But the thing here is that you're going to get the same problem from the original D&D film, which is that whoever the villain is, they're going to be serious, and they're going to chew the scenery because they're the only person required to be serious about it, right? And then you're going to have your adventuring party, and your adventuring party is going to be snarky, deadpan losers, right? Instead of any believable.
Are you saying Joss Whedon isn't a good writing tone?
Yes. Yes, I am. Because here's the thing: if we're going to use Joss Whedon as our bar, you want to do a D&D movie in the personality of Serenity, not in the personality of Joss Whedon's version of Justice League.
Or you do it in Joss Whedon's Avengers.
If you must. But I mean, really, that's the problem. The D&D film is trying to do an MCU. It's really trying to aim for that aesthetic in a fantasy. And again, you can't do it cheap. It's not budget. Go hard or go home. They'd be better off not doing it. And you know now, after it comes out and it's a fucking dumpster fire, people are going to say, "Oh, a D&D movie can't be done. It's too complicated. It's too ambitious. It'll never happen." Even though we have multiple examples of multiple fantasies that totally do it, some of which even do it on a budget and are good, but they didn't fail because they weren't being micromanaged into the ground for licensing. I still stand by that the best D&D movie we ever got to date, and mind you, it's a remake of a much better film, is the remake of Clash of the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
That's a damn good D&D movie with some Grecian flavor. Right? And they even do a real good job of introducing the adventuring party. You've got Jason, He's your main character. He gets introduced to Mads Mikkelsen and a bunch of interchangeable, expendable dudes who are all going to die before the end of the movie. But hot damn, are you having a bunch of fun watching this stupid as they pick up a wizard, as they pick up a pair of monster hunting rangers, as they travel overland through woods and mountains and snow and weirdness, and as they fight giant monsters, which is pretty awesome. It can be done, you stupid fucks. But no, let's just do Stranger Things the movie. That'll fucking work for 3 hours. I'm sure people will love it. This hipster trash talking about, well, we saw them play D&D on the IT crowd, and that was good. Yeah, we could watch them do D&D. In fact, no, I will amend. You can. Let's do it. Let's watch everyone play Drow in blackface, like in Community, for 3 hours in a D&D movie. I'm down. Let's go.
We'll review it on the channel.
Yeah.
Wait, we can be in blackface?
With that, I think that's where we call it a show, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, it's 5 minutes after 2 hours. Now we can say all kinds of ratioed shit that no one will catch. So, I mean, have fun.
Yep. Oh, God. What are we doing?
I don't know.
I mean, this may be the future of the show. Professional, well organized. And ending with Ayrton making a racist remark.
Oh, hold on. We can't call it a show until we point out that Ethan Ralph of the Killstream is a convicted sex offender, and that the Kino Casino actually was very Kino last night.
Who is Ashton, and why are we listening to his baby?
That is PPP of the Kino Casino and Andy Worski.
Okay.
They got very drunk yesterday and did a phone/laptop stream that was so bad it circled around to being
Ashton's
amazing.
the fat one.
I am vaguely glad I don't know who these people are.
You should be. It's a dark, dark road to go down, but it's fun. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, Ayrton, I know you can't breathe, but get us out of here.
Hey, Church.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
A while back, before we started this rant, Miss Rena said that she didn't know anything about D&D.
I know.
I think the obvious answer is at some point, possibly after my OSE books arrive in October, we need to get together and we need to do a gospel special, which is the four of us plus Miss Rena playing D&D.
Oh, God. We have to do another session of Power Rangers, but Ayrton has to send me the second episode first.
I mean, yeah, we have to make the second episode, don't we?
No.
Right.
The breakdown episode.
Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
Did you get the other ones uploaded?
We'll get around to that. I'm just saying,
I would like to have one in the can before I start uploading them regularly.
Right. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Because at this point, I would have uploaded it 5 weeks ago if I had uploaded it when you sent me the first one.
I'm just saying.
I mean, I sent you the teaser that was like 25 minutes, then the first episode.
I'm just saying across the board, we should plan for the Church of Failure presents the D&D special. That is a D&D one shot.
We'll find a one shot where I can be a samurai druid.
Oh yeah, no.
Well, that's easy. We do a level 20 game.
Well, see, I was actually thinking about showing people how you do, and running a first level AD&D game.
Oh God!
It's like, hi guys, this is the old school. This is what low hit points are like.
Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think again we call that a show and get the fuck out of here.
Good night, everybody, for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave the studio and keep the broadcast running.